on all angles. This is making the project take longer. They're holding up our money. They're just causing us, this has been such headache for the past like 8 months. It's been unreal. What's up, y'all? It's John Joffrey with Revent Builds, and we got a ton of action this week. I'm currently at Casa Tulum, where we're getting in our cream lueders for our pool coping. We're dealing with a snake oil salesman flooring supplier that is holding up a massive part of this project. Over at the Modern Victorian, I looked at trim with Pedro, and we carried a 300-pound cast iron tub up to the second floor, all with my help. And lastly, over at the house on Westlake Hills, we have to adjust some of our roof framing so that we have the correct slope for our metal roof going in. Y'all check it out. It's gonna be awesome. Geez, can a guy take a bath in peace around here? As you can see, we got our giant cast iron tub up into the second story. Our plumbers, they really weren't supposed to be here, but they kind of got us in our schedule over the weekend. Luckily, because I blessed them with my presence and muscle to get this thing upstairs, that not that much damage was done. There was a dent, and Tito says it may have been his fault. But anyways, it's up here. I'm happy, I'm comfortable. When they come back out to set out, all they're gonna have to do is pop it into the master bathroom. So why don't you head back to the office? I'll meet you there in a few hours. This is so insane. This is a product that was supposed to take 3 months to come in. It has now been 11 months and the product still hasn't come in. We've basically been told multiple times, like I would say up to a dozen times, that it's on this vessel, it's coming in at this time, and we check the tracking and the vessel's come and gone. So all this stuff is actually coming from Europe. This guy has no control over when it comes, how it comes. Then we find out his businesses, the address is just an empty field. So we're like, Jesus Christ, is this guy scamming us? I mean, it's a huge company that's done all this work in Austin. Our clients met up with him like kind of outside of us. And it sounds like he's just a snake oil salesman, sold them on this amazing product that was supposed to come in from Europe. And like, we're wondering if the product's, been sold to someone else, or, so basically $65,000 we paid. He's like, oh, I'll reimburse you. This was like a month ago. He gives us a check for 20 grand. Then we're like, what the is this? He's like, oh, I'm gonna give you the full amount. The next week he gives us a check for 10,000. So we have $30,000. We're still owed $35,000 to be reimbursed for this. It's just an absolute nightmare. And every time I talk to this guy, it's like, oh, well, let me send you this other product and we're gonna install this or we're gonna sand. I'm like, no, you're not gonna do shit. We're not working with you. Like, the other thing is we spent probably 2.5 months custom matching the stain of our cabinets to these damn floors. So it's like, on all angles, this is making the project take longer. They're holding up our money. They're just causing us, this has been such a headache for the past like 8 months. It's been unreal. First off, let me say this. The pool contractors are different from our contractors. We kind of do all this stuff like where we're hiring these guys directly, but the guys that came and did our coping and tile, they're not part of our team. So they come in here, they knock this out in one day and they're like, good to go. Now I look at these grout lines. They're not matching there. And if you just look up this line, you can tell they used a dull saw. So like all those grout lines, you see all the chips, it's not lining up good. It just looks like shit. So they got to pull this off and redo it.
All right, so you have pool coping and your pool decking. So 2 different teams, all right? So like this corner, just it doesn't line up. You can see where that gap is going across. So once they got everything squared out, we thought it was just gonna be an easy fix, replace that tile. But now it's looking like 1, 2, and possibly this whole row, because now those joint lines don't match with this one. So that's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So maybe 10 tiles we have to replace. So basically everything's gotta move over 1/2 inch. So we're all in line. So they doweled in. This is what they call a dowel.
Yeah.
When they say dowel, They literally drill a hole and stick the rebar in with epoxy so they could tie the concrete back together. Pants are too tight.
What the way?
So because the framing wasn't perfectly straight going across the roof line, they're unable to install that area because they have to have a nice, clean, straight line. They can't bend their steel in different angles.
Remember we talked about this tile yesterday? Now we kind of got this figured out. So all of our lines are gonna match. See, going right to left. Now we're wrapping that corner instead of those weird grout lines meeting. Looks like he got a new blade for his saw because all of those tiles don't look chipped. These guys are cool. They're not charging me for the labor to redo it. But you know, we're just at a point where like, we're so freaking close. We're like 90% of the way done. But this is where a lot of little issues start surfacing. And if you kind of let it derail you, you can get pulled in a ton of different directions. So that's why I'm like, let's get paint started. Sometimes we wait till the very end, but timing was right. I was like, let's get paint in. We have a few little more trim things to do. We're kind of just knocking this stuff out. The countertops still aren't 100% done, but we're like 99% in each of those categories. So this is our door that goes into the study. It was built into a bookcase. It's all taped right now, but there's a bookcase built around the whole door. All of these other doors, lo siento, Mike. All these other doors have our trim on the door and they're integrated into the door. But these are called, you know, they're those soft hinge doors that they're flush with the drywall. It won't close all the way right now because we have tape in the hinge. But this one is flush on the other side, so it had to be recessed. So I had them box this out with trim. We took out the regular doorstop here, boxed this out with trim all the way around. So this is all gonna get painted the same color as the cabinets that surround it. So I was just having them finish off our baseboard and then finish off kind of a casing around the door. So right now we're deciding whether to do just a 1x, which is this kind of a finger width piece, versus a 2x, which is kind of like 2 fingers.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
It looks sick, and it matches all the other trim.
Okay.
How are you gonna make that square, buddy?
This one?
You gonna figure it out?
I'll figure it out.
All right, you wanna talk about these beams in there?
Oh, sure.
So you see this band of trim around the top? That is covering our steel I-beams, but this is also spec'd out to be a coffered ceiling. So that works perfectly. So yeah, we'll bring those two up and then straight back and just have them die into this wall.
Die. Right here?
Yeah, right there. Then you're gonna have both of them go up and then they're gonna meet these other beams at an angle. Because I want them to continue through. So this one, you're gonna have 2.
Yeah.
One right here, one right here, going all the way, stopping here. Then do one on each side of the room, right here on this side.
Okay.
So that can go up straight, and then it'll go all the way over
And come down.
to that side. So like in between these two, you'll see it come also.
Okay.
All right, it's kind of dark in here. I don't know if y'all can see, but I've been looking at this shelf and it's like a fucking optical illusion. It's been killing me. Pedro as well. If you can see, you know, we went over this. All this is level. It's level all the way across. So like this plane here is level. When you look at the shelves, all the shelves are level. But what we found out, thank you, Derek, is that the distance from here to the back wall is longer on this side than it is on this side. And that can be a variety of things. I mean, it's only off, you know, 1/2 inch, 3/8 of an inch in certain places where that could have been part of the framing. And Pedro does the framing too, so it could be his fault, but he's thinking it's a drywall or something, but you know, nevertheless, there's just a small difference. So what we're gonna do is just skin the back with a birch, and he's gonna shim one side of the wood. So basically, if this part is level here, but this needs to be out, we'll just shim this out that 3/8 or 1/2 inch, put the wood there, we'll caulk all of it and paint it. so then everything's gonna be level, and I think that's what's throwing it off for me. But I mean, man, we really have no leaks. I mean, we had a couple windows leak, but the window company came out and warrantied it. That's the biggest fucking fear. That's what keeps me up at night. I just have dreams of heavy rain, water just gushing at the seams, the house flooding, slowly covering my mouth and nose. I'm dying. Everything's fading to black. Oh, God. Sorry about that. Okay, so just had an on-site meeting with our maestro, Pedro. Framing, doors, trim, carpentry, millworks. This guy is a beast. I greatly appreciate him. But we had to just work out some kinks, talk about some different trim. We're doing some coffered ceilings, just buttoning everything up so the painters can basically just paint everything at one time. Hopefully he's gonna have that all wrapped up tomorrow, but we're just gonna keep moving forward. We are on to the finish line. I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we cannot slow down now.
Andrew, last time I was out here with you on Tuesday, we were talking about how we had to kind of like get the pool coping relined because when they started putting the pool decking in, we noticed there was a alignment issue.
Yeah, so we just started seeing issues right here in the corner start formulating when they started installing their pool decking. So you have pool decking, pool coping. When they laid out their pool decking, they had it perfectly square. So all the way from corner to corner, we knew that was square. They began their install. So the only way to fix it is literally starting from this tile here all the way down is to pull them back up, slide them over half an inch, put them back. It goes from basically 1/8 of an inch all the way to a ½ inch spread to this corner. It's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's gonna be 10 tiles. Not replacing, we'll try to save what we can. For instance, that one came up perfectly fine. Slide it over, then set it down, then set it back down, and we're good. So the moral of the story is you give the installer some space, but not too much space. You try to be respectful and not look over their head and like watch them when they work, but you know, just one of those things where it looked really good, but when you put a straight edge to it and you really got down to like the little minute details, he was off by ½ an inch, you know? And that makes the whole difference when you start putting all these lines together. So then you run into the battle of having them get them back out here, fixing it, working together. So that's a whole nother thing.